Kalyan Gunarnavasya Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasadat Nagati Kutopi Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasadat Nagati Kutopi Dayam Stubham Tasya Jasasri Sandham Dayam Stubham Tasya Jasasri Sandham Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Samsara Dava Nalanira Joka Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ghana Ghanatyam Kalyan Gunarnavasya Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam 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 Kalyan Gunarnavasya Bande Guru Sri Charanarvindam 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and welcome everyone to our Thursday night, soon to be Wednesday night, Caitanya-caritāmṛta reading and discussion with the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association. And we wanted to let everyone know we're broadcasting here from Yotepec, Mexico. And my friend Gopal is in Cuernavaca right now. at a hospital, and he is preparing for a major operation, very hopefully a successful operation, to get him back in action, let's say, in terms of his devotional activities. So we're very thankful that we could be here to be a part of this pastime of his, and we look forward to a successful result from the operation. And thank you, everyone that is sending their prayers and appreciation to him online. And this all counts in the grand scheme of things. Yes, everything matters, because Krishna is everywhere. Nilesh Shama, as you know, or we don't know. I don't know, I don't really understand it, but we've heard it, that Krishna is in every atom. He's in every soul, as the super soul, as the Paramatma. And he's guiding everyone on their journey through time. He's accompanying them as the transcendental companion of the living entity. And we feel that we've been blessed to have the association of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, whether it was Vapu or Vani, because even Prabhupada said that to associate with him in separation is better than Vapu. You realize that? Better. Somehow or other, some of our godbrothers don't seem to understand that. And they continue to launch campaigns to make disciples for themselves. That's their main ambition. And they think that's the right thing. And they ignore the philosophy of Vani, the sound vibration, incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure devotee, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. They ignore it. And this is their mistake. And actually, we know that there are 4 defects: to cheat, to be illusioned, the senses are imperfect, and people cheat. There are 4 tendencies, 4 human defects. And just because somebody takes up the path of spiritual life doesn't mean they're not affected by these defects. Oh, yes. And we see it going on quite dramatically all around us. In fact, the world is quite crazy. And these days, the nationalism of different countries has created chaos for many people. Nationalism, because you have different isms. You have capitalism, you have socialism, you have communism, and you have Vaishnavism. That's a very important ism. Much, is it more recently? Nilesh, I was looking at a post from a godbrother of mine. I've known him since 1971. I won't mention his name. He lives in New Vrindavan, I can say that. And when I went there some years ago as a guest, I was invited there to speak and give Bhagavatam and Kirtan and all that kind of thing. It was okay. I actually had an encounter with Malini, the GBC. She came up to me, started talking to me. I said, "Who are you?" She says to me, "Oh, I'm part of the first wave." Oh, first wave? What? Wave me goodbye? But nonetheless, I was there and I met this Prabhu who had incidentally joined in the Hamilton Temple. He was living in Windsor, Ontario. Never really included him, Yaśodā-nandana, in the list of 19 devotees that have come from Hamilton as Prabhupada disciples. So I never really, I always forget to include him. But nonetheless, he's commenting so much on Facebook about Donald Trump. I'm going, okay, fair enough. You've got an opinion about politics, but are we interested really in politics? No. Remember Prabhupada, for example, before he met his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, he was a member of Mahatma Gandhi's movement. And he was reluctant to give that up until he discussed it with his guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, and he was convinced to give up that movement for the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vaishnavism, not communism, not capitalism, not socialism, not gayism, not any of these things. He was convinced that he was not the body, not a part of this material world, which we're not, absolutely not. And it becomes more of a realization when you, Nilesh, when you see someone who you've known for 45 years, unfortunately, maybe moving to change a body. As the old garments become useless, when there's difficult to breathe, when there's heart condition, when there's cancer of the liver, cancer of the lungs, cancer of the colon. What do you conclude? Well, right in front of your eyes, you can, we don't have to, we can memorize verses, but you can realize them by devotional service. And today, we're going to move forward again, dealing with this Trumpism mega idea. Okay, and incidentally, I guess you've noticed, Nilesh, the stock market tumbled $4 trillion because of this man's plans to have a war, not a physical war, but a financial war against his neighbors, like Canada and Mexico. Even a half-intelligent person would understand. Don't get your friends mad at you. Don't. It's not going to help. And not only that, he's getting everyone mad, and and then he tells everybody, oh, there's going to be some pain. Yeah, well, there's a lot of people suffering from this mega nationalistic approach to life. And the president, he eats hamburgers. Well, obviously he's missing a few important things in life, isn't he? And we're going to go to a section from Easy Journey to Other Planets today, which Prabhupada so clearly discusses this particular subject, which I had been reading on the plane in my preparation to come to Yotapek to see Gopal Das. And it was very appropriate, and certain sections really captured my attention. And if I can read them, yeah, here we go. Now, have you got it, Prabhu? It was page 47 in this particular version. The Russians are unaware that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the socialist philosophy is most perfectly described. Okay, that's not it. The Bhagavatam instructs that whatever wealth exists, all natural resources, agriculture, mining, etc., is created by the ultimate creator. And therefore, every living being has the right to take part of them. So this point that is made, that greed and lust, they drive the grand illusion, economic breakdowns, which is happening currently, are fueled by corruption. And we don't need any angry politicians. We should make peace, not war. That's a verse from one of my songs called Make Peace. But greed and lust drive the grand illusion. That's what drives the stock market, and that's why it tumbled. And can you imagine how many people have gone bankrupt all over the world because of this loss of $44 trillion? It is further stated that a man should only possess as much wealth as sufficient to maintain his body, that if he desires more than that, or if he takes more than his share, he is subject to punishment. This is just, you don't seem to be having much luck there, Rupa Goswami, are you? This is at the end of the anti-material worlds chapter. We believe that no nation on earth, it is also stated that animals should be treated as one's own children. We believe that no nation on earth can describe socialism as well as the Srimad Bhagavatam, what to speak of MAGA. Living beings other than humans can be treated as brothers and children only when one has a full conception of the Creator and the actual constitution of the living being. Man's desire to be deathless is realized only in the spiritual world, as stated in the beginning of this essay, and Prabhupada has described it so appropriately as an essay. A desire for eternal life is a sign of dormant spiritual life. The aim of human civilization should be targeted to that end. It is possible for every human being to transfer himself to the spiritual realm, everybody on YouTube, by the process of bhakti yoga as described herein. It is a great science, and India has produced many scientific literatures by which the perfection of life may be realized, not through nationalism. No. Bhakti yoga is the eternal religion of men. At a time when material science predominates all subjects, including the tenets of religion, it would be enlivening to see the principles of the eternal religion of man from the viewpoint of modern science. Even Dr. S. Radhakrishnan admitted at a World Religion Conference that religion will not be accepted in modern civilization if it is not accepted from the scientific point of view. In reply, we are glad to announce to the lovers of the truth that Bhakti Yoga is the eternal religion of the world and is intended for all living beings who are all eternally related with the Supreme Lord. So that doesn't matter if you're East Indian, it doesn't matter if you're American, Canadian, South American, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, etc. This is meant for every living entity. It is totally non-sectarian. Sripad Ramanujacharya defines the word Sanatan or eternal as that which speaks has neither beginning nor end. When we speak of Sanatan Dharma, eternal religion, we take this definition for granted. That which has neither beginning nor end is unlike anything sectarian, which has limits and boundaries. In light of modern science, it will be possible for us to see Sanatan Dharma as the main occupation of all the world, people of the world, nay, of all living entities in the universe. Non-Sanatan religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of man, but there is no historic origin of Sanatan Dharma because it eternally remains with the living entities. When a man professes to belong to a particular faith, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect, and And when he prefers in a particular time and circumstance of birth, such designations are called non-Sanatan Dharma. A Hindu may become a Muslim, or a Muslim may become a Hindu or a Christian, etc. But in all circumstances, there is one constant. He is rendering service to others, a Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, or Christian. In all circumstances, a servant of someone. The particular type of faith professed is not Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is the constant companion of the living being, the unifier of all religions. Sanatan Dharma is the rendering of service. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are several references to that, which is Sanatan. Let us learn the import of Sanatan Dharma from this authority. The authority is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, some thoughts for everyone today, coming from Srila Prabhupada on the proper understanding of who we are. And please, as Vaishnavas, let's not get involved in the mudslinging of the political world, which is coming and going, just like the days are coming and going, and death will come before us, be at our door before we know it. Death the Reaper, the great poet Henry Wordsworth said. He made a poem, The Death the Reaper, coming every day to harvest its crop in this material world of misery, birth, death, disease, and old age. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. Thank you, everyone, for your attention. We're going to move forward with our reading from the greatest literature ever produced on this planet, Caitanya-caritāmṛta, the unedited, unadulterated, unchanged version, with His Grace, our godbrother, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, from snowy Twain Harte, California. Certainly not the sun there. I saw the storm. I'm glad you're online. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. Hare Krishna.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridham ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskrityam. Narayanam namaskrityam. Naram chaiva narottamam. Naram chaiva narottamam. Devim saraswatim vyasam. Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, as mentioned by Vishwakarma Prabhu. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada once gave a verdict that if all the literatures in the world were all lost, if the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta survived, there would be no cause for lamentation. This is a most important and auspicious literature describing the activities and the philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, today, and depending on when you're observing this, tomorrow is the observance in Mayapur, India, the Gaur Purnima, very special day. And as we do every week, we will be reciting a few verses in Bengali and Sanskrit from the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta itself, describing the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. This is from the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 18-22. We can display the verses now, Rupa Goswami Prabhu, or whoever is handling this. Hello. Can somebody display the verses from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, chapter 1, text 18-22? Some network issue? Okay, let me just retrieve the verses from the internet here. See what we can do. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityānanda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityānanda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Etina Thakur Gaudiya ke Karya Chenayatmasat, Etinera Charana Vandana Tire Morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Granterarambi Karimangala Charana, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera Smarane Vigna Vinashana, Anayaseai Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Simangala Charanoi Trivida Prakar Vastu Nirdesha Chiravada Namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. So thanks everybody for participating in this reading and discussion. I believe we are reading from Adi Lila, chapter, let's see what we have, here we go. Adi Lila, chapter 6 or 5, text number 94. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Seta Purusha Ananta Brahmanda Srijiya Saba Ande Pravishita Bahumurtihana. Say that. Ta, certainly. Purusha, incarnation. Ananta Brahmanda, innumerable universes. Srijiya, creating. Saba, all. Ande, in the egg-like universes. Praveshila, entered. Bahumurtihana, taking multifarious forms. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. After creating millions of universes, the first Purusha entered into each of them in a separate form as Sri Garbho Dakashayi. Text 95. Bitare praveshi deke saba andakar, rahite nahikastan karila vichar. Bitare, within the universe, praveshi, entering, deke, he sees, saba, all, andakara, darkness, rahite, to stay, nahika, there is not, sthana, place, karila vichar, considered. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Entering the universe, he found only darkness with no place in which to reside. Thus he began to consider. Text number 96. Nijanga Shveda Jala Korila Srijan, Se Jale Koile Arda Brahmanda Bharan, Nija Anga, of his own body, Shveda Jala, water from perspiration, Karila, dead, Srijana, creation, Tejale, with that water, Koila, dead, Arda Brahmanda, half of the universe, Bharana, filling. Translation. Then he created water from the perspiration of his own body, and with that water filled half the universe. Text 97. Brahmanda Praman Panchasat Koti Yojan, Ayama Vistar Duha Ekasama. Brahmanda Pramand, measurement of the universe. Panchasat, 50. Koti, 10 millions. Yojana, length of 8 miles. Ayama, length. Vistara, breadth. Dui, both of them. Aya, are. Ekasama, one and the same. Translation. The universe measures 500 million yojanas. Its length and breadth are one and the same. Text 98. Jale Bharyarda Tanho Koila Nijavas Ararde Koila Shodda Bhuvana Prakash. Jale, with water. Bhari, filling. Arda, half. Tanha, there. Koila, made. Nijavasa, own residence. Ara, other. Arde, in the half. Koila, did. Shodda Bhuvana, 14 worlds. Prakasha, manifestation. Translation. After filling half the universe with water, he made his own residence therein and manifested the 14 worlds in the other half. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The 14 worlds are enumerated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 5th chapter. The upper planetary systems are 1. Bhu, 2. Bhuvaha, 3. Svaha, 4. Mahaha, 5. Jana, 6. Tapaha, and 7. Satya. The 7 lower planetary systems are 1. Tala, 2. Atala, 3. Vitala, 4. Nitala, 5. Talatala, 6. Mahatala, and 7. Sutala. The lower planets as a whole are called Patala. Among the upper planetary system, Bhuvaha, and Svaha constitute Svargaloka, and the rest are called Martya. The entire universe is thus known as Triloka. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sugurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityānanda Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasme Sigurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandana Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshatah Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punah Punah Srimadru Papadam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatusmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarabhata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Sat Karomisvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. These descriptions that we see in the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta about the structure of the universe and how the universal creation took place are very important to understand. We all know in various religious traditions around the world, when they discuss about the origin of creation, many times they'll describe that there was the word and then creation took place. Well, that's nice. That's good. But how it happened, what are the details, what are the sequences, how the living entities were manifested, how did God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, started this whole creation, you will only find this in Vedic literatures. Now, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, as we are hearing here from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, one of the foremost authorities in a disciplic succession of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, gives us a very detailed, systematic sequence of what happened. We've often referred to the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, text number 1 and 2, in the verse Jagriye Paurusham Rupam, where there is also a description by Srila Prabhupada of the three Purusha avatars, or these are the three manifestations of Lord Narayana, and how this creation takes place. We also find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2 and Canto 3, the entire sequence, how the different living entities were manifested, what was the word that was given. There was one conversation where Srila Prabhupada is discussing with a disciple that many in the Bible, it is said that in the beginning there was the word, and somebody was asking, well, what was that word? Prabhupada says, according to the Vedas, it is Om. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna described Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu, that of all the Vedic mantras, I am the syllable Om, Pranava. And this is very important because in India, as we know, there are two classes of transcendentalists. There is the impersonalists and then the Vaishnavas, the personalists. Now, in the commentaries of the great Vaishnava-acharyas, in the various disciplic succession, all of these points about the creation are very, very finely described. Oh, this is the text from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text number 8. O son of Kunti Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse explains how the Lord is all-pervasive by his diverse material and spiritual energies. The Supreme Lord can be preliminarily perceived by his different energies, and in this way, he is realized impersonally. As the demigod in the sun is a person and is perceived by his all-pervading energy, the sunshine, similarly, the Lord, although in his eternal abode, is perceived by his all-pervading diffusive energy. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink seawater because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt. Attraction for water depends on the purity of the taste, and this pure taste is one of the energies of the Lord. The impersonalist perceives the presence of the Lord in water by its taste, and the personalist also glorifies the Lord for his kindly supplying water to quench man's thirst. This is the way of perceiving the Supreme. Practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and personal conception are simultaneously present in everything, and that there is no contradiction. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya established his sublime doctrine, Achintya, Bheda, and Abheda Tattva, simultaneously one and different. In this way, Prabhupada explains the meaning of this important verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, the point is that when we carefully study all of Prabhupada's books, all the statements, for example, the Bhagavad Gita describes so many statements about the lifetime of Lord Brahma, the duration of the universe, the creation of all the Manu, and all the creation of all the living entities. And then when we go to the Srimad Bhagavatam, it goes into further detail Now, this is not just mere sentiment. We respect the fact that these various religious traditions acknowledge the position of the personality of Godhead, the Supreme Person, as the creator. But what is most sublime about the teachings of the Vedic literatures, specifically as commented by the great Acharyas and by our Srila Prabhupada, is the level of detail of what happened. It would be like if you go to see a big building, a big skyscraper or a large shopping center, and somebody says, well, this looks very nice. Who did this? Oh, some architect or some architectural firm. But if you dig further and you go into more detail and talk to the actual architect who designed the building or the chief engineer who designed the building, then you can find out so many more details. The architectural plans, how they laid the foundation, why did they put so much weight in this part of the building or that part of the building. So this is very important, because in order to understand the creation of this world, this is how we understand Krishna. Of course, no one can understand Krishna in full. That is impossible. Krishna is known as Ananta, or unlimited. But in our current condition, we can appreciate the wonderful position and the wonderful work of the personality of Godhead Krishna, how he creates all this, and what is the position of the living entities. How do the living entities come into this world? This is a very important point. Recently, I had a discussion with a friend from, again, another religious denomination or cultural background. And I asked him, why is it that you find so many different varieties in human society? You see, some people are very intelligent, genius-like. Some people are somewhat intelligent, and some people are not very intelligent, like my lowly self. Even in human society, you see some people that are very beautiful. Some people are neutral. Some people are ugly. Why doesn't everybody look the same? Why doesn't everybody have the same level of intelligence? It is no secret in India, you have people like Birla, Goenka, Ambani, Adani, very wealthy persons. Somebody will be born on a sidewalk in Calcutta or in a very poor family, and somebody will be born as the son or daughter of Mr. Ambani. Why? There has to be a previous reason. It is not enough to say out of sentiment, well, I don't know, or it happens by chance. Nothing happens by chance. There's a cause behind everything. Just like we have Nityānanda Prabhu. He is a very accomplished medical practitioner. Did he acquire his qualifications by chance? The university where he got his degree, did that place come up by chance? This is ridiculous. It is totally illogical. There is a cause behind everything. Similarly, all the varieties of life that we see in this world, there's a cause. The Bhagavad Gita explained this. It's karanam gunasangasya sadasad yoni janmasu. Karanam means cause. That the sad asad yonishu, the auspicious and inauspicious circumstances, or good and bad, this is due guna sanga atya, by association of the modes of nature, specifically the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. The Bhagavad Gita describes so many different qualities in this world. 3 major modes of nature: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. And human beings are recommended by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita to elevate themselves to the platform of goodness, because they can make further progress in their spiritual advancement. If one remains in the mode of passion and ignorance, and all the characteristics, here we go. This is chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, text 22. This is very important because Srila Prabhupada used to often quote this verse, especially the last 2 lines, when explaining why there are so many varieties, especially we see in human society and also in animal society and plant society. Purushaha prakritistohi bhukte prakritijan gunan karanam gunasangasya sadasad yoni janmasu. Translation: the living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil amongst various species. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse is very important for understanding of how the living entities transmigrate from one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that the living entity is transmigrating from one body to another just as one changes dress. This change of dress is due to his attachment to material existence. As long as he's captivated by this false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he's put into such undesirable circumstances. Under the influence of material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, as a worm, or as an aquatic, as a saintly man, as a bug. This is going on. And in all cases, the living entity thinks himself to be the master of his circumstances, yet is under the influence of material nature. How he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It is due to association with the different modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the three material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another, because he has material desires since time immemorial, but he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long-cherished desire to dominate material nature, and gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. In a Vedic mantra, it is said, as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionally relishes his eternal blissful life. Now, this is very, very important explanation from Srila Prabhupada. There was one, a devotee sent me recently a conversation Prabhupada had with another person from a different denomination, where Prabhupada was asking the question, how do living entities in the material world, especially in human society, have so many different varieties? Where does it come from? What is the cause of all this? Because this person was saying that only human beings have a soul. The animals have no soul. And Prabhupada was saying, well, if they have no soul, why is it they have the animals have the same basic characteristics of the human? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Ahar nirida baya maitunam cha. Of course, the person really had no substantial, credible explanation. And afterwards, Prabhupada complained when he conferred with his disciples, this is simply sentiment. Simply sentiment. So in other words, to have sentiment and emotion is good. That's nice. But what we see again, the importance of Vedic literature. Srila Prabhupada often compared the information in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Vedas, in the body of Vedic literatures, to be like an encyclopedia. And the information given in other various religious traditions is like in a pocket dictionary. Now, in a pocket dictionary, you will find some definitions. This is very important. We can't read this whole thing, but this conversation here, we refer to this, Srila Prabhupada with Cardinal Danielu, where he was trying to put the idea that animals have no soul, and Prabhupada defeated that idea. So it is very important to take shelter of the statements of a realized soul. Yogeshwar says, they do not accept that the soul exists, break the human level, Prabhupada, and that is their foolishness. That is their foolishness. Why it does not exist? What is the proof of existence of the soul in the body? What is the proof? First of all, you have to understand that. Suppose I'm a human being, so Yogeshwar, to the driver, you know where to go. Prabhupada, I'm a human being, you accept that I've got soul. By what symptoms you accept that I have got soul? First of all, you have to ascertain that. What is the symptom that we agree that I'm a human being? I have a soul. By what characteristic, analytical study, you accept that I've got soul and that the dog has not got soul? What are these different characteristics? First of all, we have to enumerate that thing. If we find in the characteristics, then we can say there is no soul. But if we see that both the animal and the human being have the same characteristics of living condition, then how can you say that animal has no soul, has not soul? Yogeshwar, his point was that the animals don't have the same symptom. They don't think proper. Why not? Why not? The general symptom is animal eats, you eat. Animal sleeps, you sleep. Animal has sex, you've got sex. Animal also defends, you also defend. Where is the difference? Yogeshwar. Well, his point was that human beings, they take on higher platforms than animals do. Prabhupada, what that higher platform? Eating? You're required to maintain the body. I eat something, you eat another. That does not mean higher or lower. You eat, I also eat. That's all. You eat according to your taste. I eat according to my taste. So the eating is the real symptom, not the varieties of eating. By varieties of eating, suppose an animal, the cow is eating grass, and you're eating the same animal by keeping a huge slaughterhouse with machine. Does it mean that you have improved your eating process? Simply by having big machine and ghastly scenes? And the animals eat simple grass. Does it mean that you are advanced than the animal? There is no logic. Eating is eating. One man's food and another man's poison. That is another thing. But eating is there. Somebody eats poison, somebody eats ordinary, but eating is there. So nobody can avoid eating. That is the main symptom. Even in human society, there are different varieties of food. We Indian, we like a different type of dish. European Americans, they like but eating is there. Either American, Indian, or cats, dogs, eating must be there. That is the real symptom. After eating, you must sleep. That is essential. So where is the difference of real characteristic between the animals and the human being? Yogeshwar. Then his point was that we find God's creatures, many of them, not just human beings, but it's a symptom of life everywhere that meat eating is allowed. There are many creations. He said many species. Prabhupada, that's all right. Meat eating, that is another thing. First of all, if the point is that you say that the animals have no soul, so what is the special point that you're speaking of the animals having no soul? You eat meat or I eat rice. That doesn't mean eating is there. That is the common thing. You cannot say the animals does not eat or man does not eat. Only animal eats. Everyone eats. First of all, you enunciate. How do you say that the human being has got soul and the animal has no soul? What are the special symptoms? Yogeshwar. His point was that only in human do we find a metaphysical search for the meaning of life. Prabhupada, yes. Yogeshwar, and that's the only difference. Prabhupada, the metaphysical search, now metaphysical search out why you deny soul in the human being, in the animals. That is metaphysical. It is a metaphysical question. What is your metaphysical study about the living animals that you say that there is no soul. Come to the metaphysical then. You are thinking metaphysically, that's all right. But if you're still thinking like animal, then what is the use of your metaphysical studies? If you're thinking like the animals, where I shall get my food, where I shall take shelter, where shall I have sexual facility, how shall I defend? If you're thinking like that, that is animal thinking. Metaphysical thing means beyond this thinking of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That is metaphysical thinking. So what you are thinking beyond that, that is God consciousness. When a human being thinks about God, that is metaphysical. When he thinks like animals about eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, that is not metaphysical. Metaphysical, what do you mean by metaphysical? How to define? What is the meaning of meta? Above physical. That means spiritual. If you think spiritually, then you'll see, just like Bhagavad Gita, Krishna claims, Sarva Yonishu Kaunteya, Bhagavad Gita 14:4. In all forms of life, the living entities are there and they are my sons. So this is metaphysical. Or if some third-class man says that there is no soul in the animal, that is metaphysical? Which one is metaphysical? Krishna speaking will be metaphysical, or a third-class fool's statement will be taken as metaphysical. Which one is metaphysical? First of all, tell me. And Prabhupada goes on. This is a very important discussion to show the great importance of Vedic teachings and Srila Prabhupada's wonderful explanation of the difference between the soul and the body. Thank you very much, Neil Shyama Prabhu, for finding that. Back to you in the studio, Vishwakarma Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. And it is very interesting how Prabhupada explains philosophically to people that need to be convinced that God exists, that we are parts and parcels of God, and we are meant to serve him. Because the people of the Kali Yuga, and I'm sorry, my light is, the sun went down and I don't have an adjustment, but anyway, you kind of see my image. People want to be convinced that God exists, and they ask so many questions. And so Prabhupada presents in our philosophy all the different reasons how we can understand God and how we have to act in such a way that we will be able to understand this philosophy. So some people, Nilesh, as we were reading about meat eaters, this disqualifies them from making advancement. So there is discipline that's necessary to be followed to open one's mind to higher principles of knowledge. Otherwise, you think like an animal. And Prabhupada explains, I was listening to this lecture from Melbourne, that the animal is not qualified to understand spiritual life because of their birth. So if a person is acting as an animal, then how can they understand Krishna consciousness? Because it requires higher intelligence. Yes. And we are 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. That's our size. Prabhupada gives this example to people that can appreciate this. Have you ever seen, he says very interestingly in the lecture, have you ever seen a machine that operates without an operator? Have you ever? Yes, everybody. And everybody looks, no. A machine does not operate without an operator. So he compares this, he uses this analogy to say that nothing in this world operates without the control of the Supreme Lord. He's the supreme operator, but a dog can't understand it. Dog-like men are not qualified to understand higher knowledge. And we were up to 78% of Krishna's qualities. Prabhupada explains in the same lecture, we are samples of Krishna. So if you can understand the sample, you can understand the supreme. The example of free will is given by Srila Prabhupada. A child, he says, is told, do not touch the fire, otherwise you'll become burnt. And what does the child do, Nilesh? Boom. Puts the hand in the fire, and the hand is burnt. Is there any excuse? No. Because the truth is, fire burns. So, in the material world, we know that. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So the law says everyone is born, everyone gets old, everyone becomes diseased, and everyone must die. But some will say, oh, not me. Well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So you can say you won't become diseased. Not true. And you can say you won't die. Not true. But you do not accept this axiom of truth that for one who is born, death is certain, and for one who has died, Krishna explains in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, birth is certain. I've been explaining it to Gopal in Das here in Yotepec, Mexico. I've explained, you're not dying, you're changing your body as a man gives up the old and useless body, he gets a new one, just like a useless garment. So, ignorance of the law, Prabhupada gives the example, is no excuse. You can say whatever you want, Mr. Cardinal in France. You can say that the soul, there is no soul in the body and you can eat meat. But when you die, you will take birth in a very low species, and you will suffer countless miseries, birth after birth, after birth, after birth, after birth. That is the law of karma. Oh, I don't accept the law. Don't. You don't have to accept the law. But birth, death, disease, and old age, you can ignore the fact, but it affects everyone. We must can't even read my notes. We must make a journey, the correct journey in life, under the guidance of bona fide disciples of Srila Prabhupada and bona fide spiritual master, our guru. And just before I wind up and pass the baton back to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, I wanted to wish everybody, tomorrow is, I believe, Gaur Purnima, and I have very many fond memories of bathing at 12 midnight Nilashama in the Ganges River in Sridham Mayapur, and feeling the blessings of the Lord, and the moon becomes full moon. There, it's quite amazing, the whole experience. And for fallen souls like myself, how I ended up there at so many occasions, I still can't figure that out, Prabhu. I wrote this in this new introduction we're producing. It's a prefix to the Complete Guide to Self-Realization. And the rationale behind this book was because many people, when they join, they just throw them in the water. Oh, just get in the water and swim. And that's what happened back in the early days. We only had the blue Bhagavad Gita. So how much information? You get one chapter out of the Bhagavad Gita, one chapter out of the Mahabharata, and you're told, surrender to Krishna. And somehow or other, through a divine intervention, we became devotees. But at this time in history, we want to redirect people to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada so that they don't become misled by bogus gurus who use Prabhupada's literature in order to recruit them as the new people as their disciples. No, all of our literature focuses, like in the old days, on Srila Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation, which is more important than Vapu. Yes, very much so. And this is our mission. The mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to spread Krishna consciousness all throughout the world. And we're going to carry this on in a bona fide manner in our group. Now, one last point. People are saying, well, they're reading these books and they're chanting Hare Krishna. We have posed the question to them, Mother Rochisha. If you have a pot of milk and you add, and milk is very nourishing, it's very healthy. There's so many amazing proper qualities of milk. Huh? You get cheese and yogurt and butter and ghee, all these amazing things. The cow is our mother, and referring to the slaughtering of our mother, a great sin. But nonetheless, if you add one spot of urine into the milk, will you eat it, Nilesh? Will you use it? No. Not even one spot of urine. These books that are being distributed, that are changed, edited, they have been contaminated by other people who are disrespecting the orders of their guru. And we can call them out on it because we see it. And we saw it today reading the Easy Journey to Other Planets book, because I've been reading, as you asked me, Nilesh, earlier, what version. This is the 1986 version. Oh my God. Anyway, I do the best I can, and we're going to be carrying on with helping reproduce that for others in the near future. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further comment, thank you.
Well, thank you for these comments. We'll read a few section of the Lilamrita review on page number 6 at the top. In the middle, it says, the Lilamrita attempts to show that Srila Prabhupada becomes fatigued, goes into ignorance, gets heat stroke, disease, starves, suffers from old age, as imperfect senses, etc. Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita as it is, introduction, page 11, an ignorant person may see that a devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know that the activities of the devotee or of the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature. The following pages include some of the Lilamrita's thoughts compared to Srila Prabhupada's thought on the same subject as found in his books. The Lilamrita claimed that Srila Prabhupada overexerted himself, felt exhausted, and was dead tired. From Lilamrita, Book 1, page 283. Bhaktivedanta Swami's neighbors observed them coming home dead tired in the evening. Lilamrita, Book number 2, page 259. After some time, the drive became tiring for Prabhupada. Lilamrita, Book 2, page 259. The next morning, Prabhupada didn't get up. He was exhausted. For the first time, it became apparent that he was overexerting himself. The Webster Dictionary defines exhaustion as to tire extremely or completely, as by overwork. Srila Prabhupada writes in this regard, materially, when a man becomes tired by rendering service to his physical body, he is allowed retirement. But in the transcendental service, there is no feeling of fatigue because it is spiritual service and not on the bodily plane. Service on the bodily plane dwindles as the body grows older, but the spirit is never old, and therefore on the spiritual plane, the service is never tiresome. From Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 3. There is no question of being tired on the spiritual platform. Perfection of Yoga, page 10. The Lilamrita claims that Srila Prabhupada becomes drowsy and dozed. From Lilamrita, Book 2, page 269. He stayed until around 11 o'clock, and then he became drowsy, and the party was over. Lilamrita, Book 2, page 172. After some time, the drive became tiring for Prabhupada, and he dozed. Webster Dictionary defines drowsy as indolent and lethargic. His Divine Grace, to the contrary, writes, such Mahabhagavatas, or first-grade devotees, although moving amongst men, are not contaminated by honor or insult, hunger or satisfaction, sleep or wakefulness, which are all resultant actions of the three modes of material nature. From Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 38. Then from Bhagavad Gita as it is, Chapter 1, Text 24. Sleep also means ignorance. Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee. We'll return back to Vishwakarma in the studio. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
I'm having trouble here. Haribo. Okay.
Okay, we hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's really apparent that this particular work by our godbrother is a revelation of how neophyte he is in his understanding of the Vani incarnation of Srila Prabhupada and Guru Tattva. Very revealing, and therefore we have to be very careful. And by the way, everybody, in our book publishing program, which we're moving forward with, we will be producing this book for distribution globally so that people, what would the title be again, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu? What's the title you have? The working title? Oh, unlock his voice, please.
The complete
Goswami,
guide to self-realization.
No, there's another, you wrote a booklet on the Lilamrita explanation that you're reading from. What's that called?
Lilamrita Review.
Oh, okay, Lilamrita Review, which might be included in that. It's up to you, Prabhu, as senior editor. But nonetheless, it reveals the writer, the level of consciousness of the writer, which was our godbrother from Gita Nagri, who's still there. He lives in a crippled state, and does all these paintings, kind of weird stuff. But anyway, this presentation of this book is certainly a reflection of his lack of spiritual maturity. And we want to thank Yaśodā-nandana for creating this new clarification that we'll be bringing forward. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. If you could maybe share some of your realizations on today's
Hare
class.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you. We were preparing for Gorpanima, so I missed the first part of class.
Okay.
And But I just, yeah, we talked a little bit today about how the living entity, chapter 13, transmigrates from one body to the next. And I've tried myself to see the soul and the super soul with self-realization, but I'm not even close to being there yet. I just have to go to philosophically understand how it's there and see the symptoms, but no vision of how the whole thing really works. And so it's very important for me, I mean, to review chapter 2, chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita. You can't go over this too many times because it's so kind of wonderful to just philosophically understand how the material world works. And I do want to read a little bit from Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Adi Lila, chapter 13, starting on text 67. I mean, we have this kind of out of habit, a calendar we put on the wall in the kitchen. And we mark things we're supposed to do each day. And it happens to be not the Mayapur calendar, but I guess the calendar that's mostly for North America. So I know some devotees are celebrating Gaur Purnima today and some tomorrow. But yeah, I'll read now from Adi Lila, chapter 13, text 67. Because whenever I think of Gaur Purnima, I think a lot of the activities of Srila Advaita-ācārya Prabhu, because he offered Tulsi water and Ganges and asked the Lord to appear, or caused him to appear, whatever the right word is. So this is text 67. But Sri Advaita-ācārya Prabhu felt pain to see all the people without Krishna consciousness, simply merging in material enjoyment. Purport. A bona fide devotee of the Lord is always pained to see the fallen condition of the whole world. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, there is no scarcity of anything within this world. The only scarcity is of Krishna consciousness. That is the vision of all pure devotees. Because of this lack of Krishna consciousness in human society, people are suffering terribly, being merged in an ocean of nescience and sense gratification. A devotee onlooker is very much aggrieved to see such a situation in the world. In text 68, seeing the condition of the world, they began to think seriously of how all these people could be delivered from the clutches of Maya. In text 69, Srila Advaita-ācārya Prabhu thought, if Krishna himself disappears to distribute the culture of devotional service, then only will liberation be possible for all people. And I was thinking of a question to myself, that the appearance and disappearance of all the acharyas are both very, very important. And the appearance and disappearance of the great devotee acharyas and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are also very important. But why don't we speak very much about the disappearance of Lord Krishna? Or there's not very much spoken by the acharyas about the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya. So I was just thinking about that today. I know it's maybe a kind of unusual question, but it came to me when I was just reviewing Gaur Purnima. Thank you, Haribo.
Haribo, thank you very much. And those are so many points that you brought up about the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya. I was in Jagannath Puri. You've been there, the deity, is it Toto Gopinath Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, where Lord Chaitanya disappeared into the knee?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I've been to that spot, and on multiple occasions. It's so auspicious. And this is a great appearance of Lord Chaitanya, which is really the celebration today, or coming tomorrow. And I thought it was interesting, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, how our godbrother here, Dharma Bhava, mentions, well, he doesn't feel very qualified and he doesn't understand about the super soul and the soul. And well, I feel the same way, Prabhu. I feel like that too. It's very hard to understand this. The whole point is not to try to understand it. It is to try to understand how to serve Srila Prabhupada and get his mercy. That's our business. And some godbrothers, I'm just diverting for a minute, they make announcements. Oh, I'm a Madhyamadhikari. There's one godbrother of ours from Toronto. I'm a Madhyamadikari and I'm proud of it. Oh, wow. Or Kanishta-Adhikari, I should say. He was down a step. He's Kanishta-Adhikari. And then someone else was criticizing me, a Prabhupada disciple friend of mine. You're nothing but a Madhyamadikari. Whoa. All of a sudden, he gave me this title of Madhyam. And we talk about Uttama Adhikari. That's the position of those who are in the disciplic succession from Lord Chaitanya on the highest level. Kanishta, Madhyam, Uttama. How about Nitya Dasa? Jivara Swarupa Hoy, Jivara Nitya Dasa. I am simply the servant of my spiritual master. That is the highest position. And realization, let it come by the mercy of Guru. So very interesting. And thank you very much, Neil Sharma. He put up this law of ignorantia duris, not excusat. Latin for ignorance of the law excuses not, or ignorantius legis eminam excuse. Ignorance of the law is a legal principle holding that a person who is unaware of a law may not escape liability for violating the law merely by being unaware of its content. So, very interesting fact that relates to ignorance of the law of God when it comes to acting as a spirit soul. Nilashama, we're coming to the end. Go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. I'd like to share something which we just discussed.
Yes.
As Yashodanand Prabhu was reading from this particular shloka, Karanam Guna Sangasya Sadasat Yoni Janmeshu, this particular line which very much struck out for me. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. So now the question comes, if we are going to these different camps which are not following the authoritative sources, which are changing the authoritative source, that is Srila Prabhupada's words or Srila Prabhupada's books, how do you expect them to change this concept of physical understanding? So that is why they have big bank balances. That is why they consider the temples as their own fiefdom, as their own kingdoms. That is why they shape up the earth into different zones and say, oh, this is my zone, that is your zone. And so when we go there to even try to preach or try to tell them, they refuse to understand and they behave in an animalistic fashion. Just like some of them were assaulted. Some of us gets assaulted. Somebody gets ridiculed verbally. So this is very normal because imagine they are not listening to the authoritative sources from which their material desires can be removed, And so that was very interesting for me, just think about it, is that that change can be affected only by hearing from authoritative sources. So when we are trying to follow Prabhupada's unadulterated books, the reason is that so that we can understand or we can bring about this change in our lives, And then the second part which I wanted to bring about is talking about metaphysical, as we were discussing from Srila Prabhupada's books, conversation.
Yeah.
What does metaphysical refer? Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that explores the fundamental nature of reality. Now look at this. These are scientists who are trying to understand what is reality, how this world came about. So metaphysics examines the abstract and general aspects of existence, including nature of being, space, time, causality, and the relationship between the mind and matter. Now look at this. This is all the topics which are related even in the Bhagavad Gita. But here, modern scientists call this as metaphysics. So metaphysics delves into questions about what exists, how things exist, and the underlying principles of reality, often venturing beyond what can be directly observed or measured. So now they call this as more theoretical questions rather than specific empirical phenomena, because there's no way for them to understand this aspect. So it's so kind of lucid and vivid and different, And so coming to this part where we this much talked about Euclid, the great telescope which we have in space, where it's taking all these pictures. Look at these pictures which they are putting up, and this is the website called euclidcaltech.edu. These are different pictures of the space where we are trying to understand how we have come about in existence. And look at this object. Well, how much is the distance? 420 million light years. Now, how much is a distance? If I were to sit in an airplane which is traveling at a speed of light for 420 million years, that is when I would reach this particular galaxy. So man is trying to understand this creation in so many different ways, spending so much money, but we will refuse to go to the realized soul and understand this simple phenomenon, and still go in circles everywhere. So this is the frustration which the so-called materialist scientists will undergo and will continue to undergo until we surrender to an authoritative person. And the reason why we read from these unadulterated books is because we want to bring about a change in our concept, our physical concept of material understanding, and go to the spiritual level. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'll go to him right now. It's interesting though. 4,300,000 million years and 1 day of Brahma times 1,000. That's an understanding of time which is beyond our ability to comprehend, just like it's hard to comprehend $1 trillion. But they're there. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please, if you could give us a wind-up to this very interesting reading and discussion this evening before Gaur Purnima. Go ahead, Prabhu.
I think these kind of discussions, when we analyze Prabhupada's statements, for example, about the origin of the living entities, the creation of the universe, why there are different varieties of living entities, the difference between human and animals, there is so much knowledge, even from a point of view of logic and reason. Prabhupada is explaining things in such a very clear way. But yet, there are some people who are almost lost in a world of speculation, confusion, and total madness. That when clear evidence is given, when clear arguments are given, they won't accept them, but they'll go on speculating for forever about the origin of the universe, the galaxies, this and that, the position of living entities, but clear explanation is given there. So it's up to us to keep preaching this message and educate devotees. And I want to bring up one point that Nityānanda Prabhu made about their original books. And I know we're still dealing with this issue every single day, and why it is important not to change the original books, the original statements of Srila Prabhupada, because then the philosophy becomes distorted. We all know the example of Bhagavad Gita, from he has seen the truth to they have seen the truth. And we all know what they've done with the Caitanya-caritāmṛta when Prabhupada described how Jagannath Das Babaji initiated Bhaktivedanta Thakur. They didn't like that, so they changed it to their so-called ideas. So what this shows is distortion of the philosophy for a political agenda. We don't have political agenda in Krishna consciousness. Our only agenda is to follow the order of the spiritual master. When people say, oh, we follow the tradition. No. You can't be following the tradition by disrespecting and disobeying the Acharya Srila Prabhupada. That's a complete contradiction. It is a contradiction. So this is very important as part of these discussions, that we as devotees, followers of Srila Prabhupada, do not fall victims. Do not become victimized by the false propaganda and the false manufactured ideologies of self-appointed people, of motivated people who are on a campaign of self-aggrandizement, which is full of defects and falsehoods. We keep reading from the Lilamrita, what they've done, how they're describing Srila Prabhupada just like an ordinary person. Well, sorry, we don't accept those ideas. Prabhupada never described his Guru Maharaj like that, never. So it's up to us to be vigilant, to be aware of what's going on, and take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. And again, thanks everybody for participating in this program. We will end this program with a kirtan. I don't know how long that singing is. I'm sure Ram Raghava's got the time, whether it's a minute 53 seconds or 2 minutes
2:54.
2:54. It's
Yeah.
one of the most blissful 2:54 time of the day. And thank you very much, Ram Raghava, for bringing that to our attention. And I just want to mention to everybody in this program, Ram Raghava's father has actually been an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada. His name is Viprahita, and his mother also has been initiated. And they diligently listen to the classes at their own time. They're both elderly and very devoted to
They
Krishna
watch
and
on
Srila
YouTube.
Prabhupada. Yes, I
They
know.
watch on YouTube,
But I saw
which a
the
lot
other
of
day,
people. How many people are on YouTube tonight?
Right now, there were up to 11 people. Right now, there's 10 people.
Okay. Well, that's
And
encouraging.
Viprahita Prabhu and Rasikeshwari, they watch on Sundays live, but the other times they watch on YouTube.
Okay. And we're going to be changing the class next week to the Wednesday, and we'll send out the invitations accordingly. And we want to thank Ram Raghava for stepping up and accepting the responsibility of co-host for that evening. And we march along in this journey back home, back to Godhead together as the representatives of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose appearance day we celebrate tomorrow. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. Let's go ahead with the kirtan.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and we're full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks, everybody, for participating in this lively program. Vishakama Prabhu from Lautopec or Yautopec, Mexico. Ram Maghava Prabhu from Georgia. Das Avatar from Australia. Neil Sharma Prabhu from Florida. Michael Dillon from Yuba City, California. Horace Temple from, I don't know where you're from, but you should have some very nice, interesting photos there. Krishna Kata from San Diego, California, or Alpine, California. And the one and only Rupa Goswami Prabhu from Mumbai, India. Krishna Kata, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It looks a little cold there, like over here in Twain Harte. Thanks, everybody, for participating, and we look forward to see you on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 10 o'clock a.m. Florida time and Eastern Canada time. And everybody is invited to come and participating in this reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita with all the discussions. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.